In recent years, the San Diego Padres have been the most aggressive team in baseball, and their desire to win and acquire pieces is respectable, but their strategy is foolish and has been a complete failure. Not only have they been unsuccessful in the short term, but are ruining their future long term and running into a major problem. At the 2020 trade deadline, AJ Preller went all in for the second place Padres. In a 3-day span, he made 6 separate deals, acquiring big names like Mike Clevenger, Trevor Rosenthal, and Mitch Moreland. During that time, 26 different players were traded, which was the most in MLB history for a 3-day span, beating the previous record set by none other than AJ Preller himself. The Padres hadn't made the postseason since 2006, and with a good group in place, Preller utilized San Diego's great farm system to acquire veterans for a postseason run. They finished with the third best record in baseball that year, but after beating the Cardinals in the wildcard round, got swept by the Dodgers in the NLDS. Despite their early exit in the playoffs, Preller continued his aggressive mindset from the trade deadline into the offseason. He went out and acquired Cy Young runner-up Yu Darvish, 2018 Cy Young winner Blake Snell, and San Diego native Joe Musgrove all in trades. At first, everything was clicking, and the Padres started out the season 53-40, but post All-Star break, it all fell apart, and the club went 26-43 and finished the season with a losing record. Now for the second consecutive season, Preller made big-time moves, only for them not to pan out. In 2020, they were going to be a playoff team regardless of the trades, and 2021 was inexcusable. That's the thing though, Preller has been down this road before and should have learned his lesson by now. After getting hired in August of 2014, Preller wasted no time in his first few months as GM of the Padres, as in December 2014, 24 players were exchanged across 6 separate trades in a 3-day span. Preller went out and acquired All-Stars and former All-Stars in Matt Kemp, Justin Upton, Will Myers, and Derek Norris, and it completely revamped San Diego's lineup. Despite all the big moves, the team finished just 1 game better than the previous season, a complete failure given the hype and expectations after all the offseason moves. 2014 was a mess, 2020 didn't work out, and 2021 was awful, and after a slow 2021-2022 offseason, it seemed like Preller realized that trading for your entire team doesn't work out. If you thought that, you were wrong, because at this year's trade deadline, Preller went all in once again and acquired the best player available, the best closer available, and 2 bats who were in midst of all-star caliber seasons. Not only had none of the 4 players positively impacted the team, but to make matters worse, they are 19-19 since acquiring these guys and only 2 games above the Milwaukee Brewers in the wildcard race. At this point, I don't know if it's just bad luck or getting traded to San Diego is a curse because nothing seems to work. But could you imagine a scenario where you go out and get Juan Soto, Josh Bell, Josh Hader, Brandon Drury, and miss the playoffs? It would be one of the most embarrassing stories in recent baseball history. We'll have to wait and see how the rest of the season goes, but the big story here is this is now 4 different times AJ Preller has made big time moves and nothing has panned out. If anything, it proves in Major League Baseball you can't build a winning team by trading half your organization each year. There's no chemistry being built in the clubhouse, and watching San Diego's team, it's obvious and looks like a group of talented players playing for themselves. On paper, this team is too talented to be a fringe playoff team, especially with all the moves and signings they've made in recent years. And that leads me to my next issue. They aren't successful now. If they won a World Series or even made a World Series, this wouldn't be a problem. But the Padres have done nothing and are now ruining their future as well. They went from having one of the best farm systems in baseball to one of the worst, and look at some of the prospects they traded under Preller and the players they turned into. Guys like Trey Turner, Max Fried, Yasmani Grandal, and even some key contributors for their respective teams this season, and Cal Quantrill, Josh Naylor, Ty France, and Andres Munoz. Not to mention the huge upside of young guys they parted with in the Juan Soto deal, like CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, Robert Hassel III, and James Wood. The reality is, we wouldn't be having this conversation if the Padres' big moves over the years turned out to be successful. The problem is, the organization has made all these moves with nothing to show for it and ruined their future doing so. No other GM in Major League Baseball history has moved more than 20 players in any 3-day span, but AJ Preller has now done it twice, and both times it's come back to bite him. It will be very interesting to see if the Padres miss the playoffs this year or have another early postseason exit if there's some serious changes made in the front office.